Okay, so this is a map of how the property is now. That's south. This is the straw bale house, common house. This is the driveway and the parking area. The driveway goes out to the road, CR 134. And this is the path up into the garden. This is the dashed lines, the fence. These are the garden, the veggie beds, the raised beds, and these are the the green lines with the circle that are hollow are trees, fruit trees, and the blue filled in things are berries, smaller berry bushes. The yellow here are the 4 compost bins made out of straw bale, and these orange lines are the topographical lines. So this is pretty flat up here. It slopes a little bit towards this way, and then there's kind of a stream forms down here, and it feeds down into the Maya Creek. It's part of the Maya Creek system. And then over here, it's kind of a stiffer, steep drop-off. And this dash right here is where the porch will be. So that's how it is if everything went right now, how everything else is set up right now. Oh, this little area is the white shed that's up there, the little bitty shed. Okay, so what I've done is I've removed the topographical lines over here, and I've drawn a vision of where I see cutting back the kind of the wilderness to. That's this green line that goes up here, meets up with the garden, comes around, and basically crosses over. And so all of that we wouldn't touch. But in here, there's some trees that these have to come out because of where they are and the shadow that they cast. And these probably need to come out too because they're going to get there quickly, and they're clumps of trees that need to be thinned at the very least. Right now, this is all kind of like scrappy wood, and these are like medium-sized trees. This is all big garden back in the 70s and early 80s, and so it's really pretty young growth in here, except for this tree, this big hickory right here, which can be a pain to take out. And then over here, this side of the road right here, it's kind of steep right here, but this dot right here is the wind generator pole. And it's already cleared out a little bit right here. Need to put something there to hold the soil on, some kind of little bushes, something that won't get tall. But right here is kind of flat, and there's some cedars right here that also probably need to come out. They're kind of big. But this is kind of a flatter area and could be nice for some kind of other edible plants. And by cutting all of this out, we'll get a lot of posts that we can use for construction. Like there'll be a big range, a lot of smaller ones which will be good for like medium supports or purlins in the roof or something like that. Okay, so now what I've done is I've wiped out those trees that were here, and I've mainly put down just the major path system and a few new buildings. So the idea is to put a kind of a family campground up near the garden, which would just be 2 kind of small cabins, and then everybody else down at the other the main campground that's there now, and that'll have mainly summer cabins. And these will be mainly for in the winter. These will be the ones that we insulate. That way they're closer to the house, and they'll have good solar access, so we can build them with that in mind. And that way there's a kind of a quieter, more developed sort of campground area for the families that come out. So maybe it won't be quite as scary for the kids. They'll be kind of in a garden area rather than just in the middle of the woods. And so the trails, before we get to that, this building right here would be the shed. It also house the guineas over on one side. I'm thinking like it'd be inside and there'd just be a door to be able to access them, and then they'd have a door to the outside. They really like to roost high, so I can put up a roost near the roof in there, and that would be good for them. And that'll keep them kind of out here to kind of eat all the bugs that are in the garden area up here. And then move the compost bins on the outside of the fence because there's no reason that they need to be really protected. And then they'll have easy access. The truck will have even an easier access to be able to get there and dump like horse manure or cow manure or whatever. for like another source of for main source of compost for this area at least. And then down here, this is the trail that would come from the house and go straight down to the campground. And there'll be a composting toilet in here, and there's already a composting toilet down the campground, the outhouse. And these would be a 3-bin human manure composting area, and that way it's in between the both places. And 3 because well, it takes 2 years to be really safe on human manure breaking down and not having anything bad in it. So that way you have the 2 years and then the year you're currently filling up. And let's see, this right here, this blue area would be the cistern that hopefully we'll build this year. And this orange area would be a very simple kind of greenhouse attached to the house. It would just be there in the winter. And it'd just be flexible poles that would attach to the rafters that go out, and you just throw some like clear plastic drop cloth over it. And so the paths kind of wind so that they take you to all the major areas that you would want to go to. I'm going to fill this in with kind of a forest garden style in the next phase of this. It's starting to get a little clustered and confusing, but maybe you can stick with me. A lot of it will be like putting in fruit trees and little paths like that, and I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so what I've added looks really confusing, but this orange right here is a berm that kind of would go on contour, because this land slopes down, and so this would catch a lot of that moisture. And then all these trails in here, all these little, how it's dashed off to the sides like that, those are little bitty keyhole beds. So these would all be different types of shrubs and stuff, but this is a better way to maximize growing area for path size. You get more surface area, basically, by doing the little keyhole beds like that. And now I'm going to fill in all of the trees and bushes and things like that, which is going to look just even more confusing, but at least I'll know what's going on, and it'll help me process it. Okay, so now this is totally confusing, but let me try to break it down a little bit. So this area right here, where it's just green kind of in between the paths, this would just be veggies. Specifically ones that you would use a lot like regularly in the kitchen, like salad type stuff, and maybe this would be tomatoes and peppers and that kind of thing too. Carrots, onions, that sort of thing. And the staples would stay up in the garden. That would be like potatoes, beans, corn, and squash. And there'd probably be some squash down here too, I guess. Now, most of this area, these are just dwarf or semi-dwarf fruit trees, and then just different types of fruit like blackberries, raspberries, blueberries. Well, actually, these would probably be blueberries down here. Different kinds of nitrogen-fixing plants, like maybe gumi. There'd be a lot of comfrey plant underneath it, especially over here near their compost. There'd be a lot of comfrey over here because that makes great compost, and it'd be easy to just slash it and throw it in there. And then a lot of the other stuff planted under here would be like perennial types of vegetables. Drew some artichokes, herbs, medicinal type stuff. And hopefully a lot of native plants too. Like maybe there'd be a gooseberry. Well, there'd definitely be gooseberry and that kind of thing. And let's see. Okay, this right here is just a little pond for the garden. Hopefully bring in things like frogs and stuff like that. And then over here, there's also some water. This is the gray water system that will be coming out of the house. There'll be probably 2 ponds, and when water comes in, it'll kind of overflow into this one. There'll be kind of enough light so that reeds and things like that can grow in it. Let's see. This would produce a lot of food, and I think it would be like the heart of the community at first. It would grow all of our own food, but for the community, I think we should grow a lot of most of our food for our direct use should be grown out at the community. But this can stay in operation, and this can be kind of our stuff that we take to the farmer's market, or we make wine out of, or maybe we sell fresh herbs and things like that. Well, that'd be at the farmer's market too. But this can be our starting food system, and then when we get out to the community area, this will become the moneymaker, kind of like for a CSA or something like that. I think probably somebody will have to live over in the campground side all the time, like a caretaker for this area, at least one. I mean, there'll be visitors who can help with stuff too, but somebody's going to know kind of what's going on over here. And maybe that rotates, or maybe somebody just likes living over here with all the people coming in and out, kind of be like a hostel or something. So that's kind of the general plan. The berm, on the other side of the berm would be a lot of fruit trees and berries, specifically water-loving ones, because there'd be a lot of water absorbed by this berm and kind of soaked in slowly for those plants over there. Yeah, so that's the plan. This wouldn't get done next year by any means. This coming year, I think it'd be great if we got these two built, these two little cabins, and maybe even the shed too, and maybe even start on the shed. I don't know, and get sort of the path, a couple of the paths done, and maybe do the berm. Just because once this gets cleared out, we don't want a lot of runoff. We don't want to lose our topsoil. If we were going to clear it out, I'll put down a kind of a cover crop mix. The cover crop I was planning on using would be oats, field peas, and vetch. And the peas and the vetch both fix nitrogen, and the oats kind of make a structure for the peas to grow on. And apparently in trials it grows a lot of biomass, like outdoes a lot of the other types of cover crop mixes. So I'm going to give it a try once I clear that out. And clearing it out is going to be a task in itself. But a lot of these little poles will be useful, especially for these buildings and things. See anything else? No, I think that about does it. The fence up here, I mean, it's possible. One of the big problems, I guess, with this would be that it's so open that animals could come in here. I mean, it's not fenced off. Like people bring dogs, they'd be running through it. I don't know the solution to that just yet. I know having this fenced off up here is probably good because it's further away, but being by the house would probably scare off a lot of wildlife right in this area. If there's a dog, like a trained dog that stayed here all the time, and you should train it to just walk on the paths maybe. It's probably okay if they walk on it, sort of, but digging up stuff would be a big problem. I don't know, the animal issue is the major issue that I have with this right now, but other than that, I think it's pretty awesome.